Let's go back about a month, been right at a month now, I guess, since the FAFO for the Arkansas farmers kind of hit social media and news in general. Right about the same time that that happened, a particular influencer, we'll say, from the other side of the political spectrum did not heed Wu-Tang Clan's warning to protect your neck. And that has taken over everything. No longer is anyone talking about the farmers. No longer is anyone talking about releasing the Epstein files. And by the way, release the fucking Epstein files already.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is going back to about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago now. I had seen some videos where the farmers in Arkansas, and it's not just Arkansas, but that was the farmers in Arkansas were getting the highlight at the moment. But many farmers are starting to feel it from all of the wonderful policies that this current administration / regime have enacted. It's having a very negative impact on those people that voted for him. And in a conversation with Butterfly Screams, I was just like, I think this is a perfect segue into what she and I have been talking about, where FAFO is not necessarily the best approach with people who are on the other side. And believe me, I completely understand that the majority of them people ignored us. They did not heed our warnings when we talked about this having a major negative impact on all of us. But if we're saying that it is a cult, which there's a lot of people out there who have more experience with cults than I do, are saying that it really is, then taking a very defensive, very fuck you approach is not necessarily the right way. And I think this is one of those places where we can try to find a way to get over certain things that have come out because of their voting tendencies. The policies that they voted for are going to fuck them, but they're going to fuck all of us in the long run. But yeah, so this video is, and I don't remember the young man's name, but he was a young farmer out in Arkansas trying to get started. And apparently he'd gotten some backlash from people who were telling him to, he fucked around. Now he's having to find out because he's in jeopardy of losing his farm. And there was some conversation around people telling him about the administration's policies, people telling him about Project 2025. And he was just like, I didn't believe it, or I didn't know about it, or I was told it was leftist propaganda, Democratic propaganda. And so this is kind of a reaction to that video.
Okie dokie, here we go.
He says in the comments, Project 2025, didn't you read that? That's his platform.
Hey, Skylar, my name's Will Westmoreland, and I'm a farmer down in Southwest Missouri. And I just wanted to reach out to you and tell you that I am not an FAFO kind of guy. We probably disagree with each other on everything political, but there's a very specific reason why people are getting upset with you. And I wanted to explain that to you if you'd be willing to listen to an older guy kind of walk you through the process. Now, I'm not an FAFO guy because I know what's going to happen to poor people, the elderly, children, single moms, and over 250 million people every night around the world that go to bed hungry if the American farmer and rancher is run out of business because of Trump's policies. And that's what I want to explain to you tonight if you'll listen to me. I also wanted to let you know I sent you a private message. And if you ever want to get on the phone and you want to talk about the issues that Trump is forwarding that are bad for agriculture, I'd be willing to do that, and I'd be willing to listen to your arguments as well.
Okay, I just want to say that I love that. I really do love that invitation to dialogue. I just feel like that is something that we as a country used to be able to do. It didn't matter, what the issue was, culture war or not, it didn't matter. Like, I just feel like there was a time when someone could disagree and we not just flip out and just decide that we couldn't talk to this person anymore. And I know Trump he's a special case of, just insanity, right? And what he's, brought to the country. But I miss this so much. And I really applaud this guy in his ability to overcome that very instinctual feeling of like, ha ha, now you're getting what you deserve.
Yeah, and
So,
you can tell it's sincere in his voice, Mr. Westmoreland. And I absolutely agree with you. There's a part of me that believes that inability that we have gotten to of not being able to speak to each other is by design. That
oh
the
my God, yes.
that the Epstein class, the elite, don't want us being able to speak to each other, because if we're not able to speak to each other, if we're so mad about whatever, then we're not able to get to the point where we're no longer fighting each other and fighting them. And again, it is, I believe, 100% by design.
Yeah, I love it so much. We need more of this. More of this.
These are the facts, okay? You can look this up on your own, but these are the facts. Rural America uses more welfare than the blue cities do. Rural America needs more help feeding our children. We need more help keeping our hospitals open. And guys like you and I, farmers out there that grow row crops or do agroforestry or raise cattle, we take welfare too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because we can't control the cost of our inputs. We can't control the cost of what we sell our products for. We got to pay for shipping both ways, as Kennedy said. But the reality of the situation is they were able to instill in us the idea that the government money coming to us was okay and was a good thing, but the government money going everywhere else was a scam or a sham or communistic or socialistic, etc. So it reached a fever pitch finally, where a lot of rural people, over 70% of rural farmers and ranchers, believe the Fox Newses and the talk radio. And when they came to you and told you that Trump wasn't going to implement Project 2025 and that he didn't have anything to do with it, you believe that. And you're not alone. All I'm here to tell you is that you were lied to. I'm not asking you to admit you were wrong. I'm not telling you you effed around and found out, because I don't want to see you lose your farm. And if there's anything I can do to help you not lose your farm, I'd be happy to do it. But in the distrust that you built up for government over time, and due to the fact that you didn't think mainstream media was reliable anymore, and you began listening to the news sources that tried to convince you every day that Project 2025 was not a Trump deal, even though many, many people on his campaign worked for Project 2025, they put it together, they helped write it. There was an entire section on agriculture. And in that section on agriculture, they specifically say they're going to cut out programs like this. Then they're going to cut out crop insurance. And Donald Trump is on record, my friend. And Skylar, look this up. Don't take anything I'm telling you at face value. You look it up. That's the difference between me and a lot of people on here. Check what I've said. Make sure I'm not lying to you. But Donald Trump is on record saying that corporate farming is better than small family farms and ranches. And Skylar, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to corporatize agriculture. And I'm not talking about when you and I go out and put together an LLC so that we can get the tax benefits and the protections from liability that come with that. I'm talking about big ag corporations in Wall Street buying up family farms and ranches as they go out of business so that they can turn it into just another investment. In the last 10 years, we've broken every single record in regard to the number of farms and ranches being bought up by investment companies in the United States. And I'd be happy to share all of that data with you. But my friend, I think the worst thing that they did to us in rural America is they convinced us somehow to place the culture wars over our own well-being. And what do I mean by that? Brother, when I was young, you didn't care what anybody did in their bedroom. Gay, lesbian, trans, whatever. That was their life. And the only way the law changed was just to say that you can't discriminate against those people when you're hiring, and you can't commit acts of hate against them because they're different than you and I as heterosexual white men. That's all the law did. And Skylar, did you know that the Southern Baptist Convention, and I was a Southern Baptist for a long time, do you know that the Southern Baptist Convention had its own clauses in their charter that said that abortion was okay in the event that it saved the life of the mother or the child might be deformed? But it was political hacks in the religious Christian movement that came in and politicized the abortion topic in order to get folks like you and I in rural America to turn against it. So I'm not here to tell you FAFO, brother. I know how hard you work every day, and I know what you're trying to do for your family, because I'm doing the same thing.
Okay. So, any thoughts there, John?
No, I mean, yeah, a few, and it's just like we were talking about. He just spoke on the fact that what they've done is convince people of rural America, and it's not just rural America. It's in the cities as well. It's in the suburbs, but the culture wars, gay people or trans people, it's such a small part of what's going on in society, but such a big focus that we're talking about a trans woman competing in a race in a swimming contest more than we're talking about, these farmers getting ready to fail, getting ready to go under. And there's a reason behind it, because they're going to be bought up by these large corporate entities. What he's talking about is absolutely real. Welfare is being, has been made out for a long time to be seen as this big negative thing. And it's depending on who takes the welfare, depends on that it's actually bad. And it's also the only time that it's talked about. Major corporations get welfare. They're just titled differently. They're called subsidies. Most of the major oil and gas industries in this country, those corporations get subsidies. Elon Musk and Tesla get major subsidies from the government. Though that's welfare. That's the same damn thing as the neighbor 2 doors down getting a little extra money from the government to help feed their children. You don't hear people discussing the billions that someone like, or the millions rather, that someone like Sean Hannity got to help buy real estate. And that's real. You can look that up. Sean Hannity, back during Trump's first term, got money from government subsidies to help himself buy more real estate.
Interesting. I had no idea, but that does not shock me at all. Not even a little. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you just said. I hate to be the wet blanket here, but I can't help it, because I've lived and breathed politics, going as far back as I can remember, and I think in this FAFO, I guess, era that we're in right now, I want to be careful not to let the Democrats off the hook, right? The reality is we are here because of the Democrats, because we have a bunch of feckless, weak sellouts as, our representatives that, call themselves Democrats. And it's because they have allowed the wealth disparity to, explode in this country over decades now. Bill Clinton got rid of, or excuse me, I think he cut our welfare program, pretty significantly. And so anyone who I guess is sort of just now waking up and, tuning in and wanting to get serious about change, and they still believe in, elections mattering and stuff like that. I can't say that I'm in that camp, but if you are, I just want you to be aware of how the Democrats are themselves a huge fucking problem. And yeah, it's important to look into these people that are calling themselves Democrats, calling themselves progressives, calling themselves the solution to the problem. I urge you to find out, are they taking money, from corporations? Are they taking money from AIPAC? Are they taking money from just various lobbyists? Like do the research, do your homework, because these people do not actually care. They are also part of the elite class.
They really are. Yeah. And I agree with you 100% on that. I guess the only thing I would say is that, I've heard it put this way a number of times. The Republicans, especially now with it being basically MAGA Republicans, are driving us with their foot on the accelerator all the way down to the floor, straight to the cliff. And the Democrats have us on cruise control at about 55 going to that same cliff.
Oh my God, that's such a beautiful analogy. Oh my God, yes, absolutely. And I know that's hard for, I guess what we'd call, or I would call, a normie Democrat, or just, liberal or whatever, to hear and accept, but it is the truth. They are the elites, and they're just as responsible as these Republicans that have their foot on the gas, as John would say. So that's pretty much my take. And I think I'm very thankful to this guy, and I'm happy to see that it's going viral.
Before we jump into the economic pain of farmers and the vultures feeding on their misery, I feel it's important to lay out some basic facts about current farmland operations. In other words, how much farmland is owned by individuals, families, how much farmland is owned by non-operators, meaning corporations or investment firms, how much of both are rented out. According to the USDA website, a majority of U.S. land and farms is owner-operated, just over 60%. Higher rates of farmland rental are reported in the Mississippi Delta region, as well as the Corn Belt and the Northern Plains. In 2016, the USDA's Economic Research Service published a comprehensive study of farmland ownership. Now, if you're looking at the table we have on the screen, acres owned by farm operators, operator landlords, and non-operator landlords in 2014, 8% rented from an operator, 61% owner operated, 31% owned by non-operated landlords.
So that's close to like 1/3 of farmland, and that's as of 2014. So
that's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Farmland owned by non-operator landlords, 283.4 million acres. Corporations, trusts, or other owners is 10% of all farmland. Individual and partnerships is 21% of all farmlands. Note the data excluded Alaska and Hawaii. So hoping to find more recent data, we clicked on a link provided on the same page, interactive charts. Visualizing U.S. farmland ownership, tenure, and transition brings me to page not found.
So, given what John's about to tell us about venture capital firms buying up land and shares, I think it'll begin to make sense. Could it be that the tariffs and the entree of private equity and venture capital into farmland acquisitions is very intentional? Could it be that the oligarchy, now in control of our government, is purposely making life hard for farmers? Are they trying to make them desperate enough to sell their land because maybe there's a plan? Well, my answer to that is I would say yes, because I can give you two examples of how there are nefarious, I guess you could say, groups, wealthy people, whatever you want to call them, that are venturing into buying farmland. But in Tennessee in particular, there is a company called Ridge Runner, and they are publicly advertising right now that they're actively selling parcels of farmland and rural land in Tennessee, particularly in the Highland Rim Appalachian zones. And so this company, if you dig into this company, you'll see that they have some ties to like a lot of the Christian nationalist movement. They're white supremacists. They're a very shady group. And it's interesting because a lot of what they're doing really seems to tie in with this whole network state thing that's going on with the broligarchy. But anyway, I'll get to that later. But for now, Ridge Runner, let's see, Ridge Runner's site under land listings, they have Tennessee parcels for sale. For example, Brewington Farms, Jennings Creek Colony. They promote development in the eastern Highland Rim of Tennessee with bucolic farmland, rolling hills, and prime land for homesteading and agrarian communities. Let's see, one media report states that Ridge Runner bought a 448-acre farm in Whitleyville, Tennessee, intending to develop it into, quote, an agrihood with estate-style homes, pasture, and farmland amenities. Listings by Ridge Runner are also visible on land sale platforms. I do plan to link to some very in-depth reporting on this particular outfit, and so I highly encourage everyone to check that out. I kind of think maybe we should actually cover it in some future episodes, but anyway.
I'm down.
For now, this aligns with the network state agenda, which for those unfamiliar, there's this whole movement going on amongst the broligarchy, the tech oligarchs, where what they would like to see are these like little libertarian utopias. I guess you could call, the best way to describe them are little city states, where basically there's different ways that they can form, and it really depends on, are you in the tech side of things, are you a Christian nationalist? So there's all the various different ways that these communities can form, but their overall plan is to form a community either in digital or real life, buy up a shit ton of land, move there, and then kind of start their own little cities or whatever. And the intent is to be run by like a CEO type figure, and basically eventually petition to be recognized as its own like sovereign little entity, so that it is no longer it's no longer part of the United States. The rules and laws of the United States of America no longer apply to them, basically. And so anyway, so how does Ridge Runner fit into that whole agenda? Their marketing emphasizes town and country charter communities in Appalachia, appealing to people who want self-determinative rural lifestyle communities. This aligns with the broader trend of ideologically aligned land development, or quote, safe space settlement. That's hilarious. Anyway, the Whitleyville Farm Project is explicitly framed as a refuge or aligned community for quote, like-minded, often conservative/Christian people moving from blue states to rural Tennessee, part of what developers are calling a big sort or ideological clustering. Ridge Runner's efforts mirror tactics seen in another aligned community or enclave development projects, acquiring farmland, subdividing it into residential lifestyle lots, marketing it to ideologically minded buyers, and building an agrarian or self-reliant themes. You know, I just want to quickly say, I personally would love to live in a community like this. I'm not down with the whole Christian, extremist side of it. And I'm, obviously I don't believe that they should be operating outside of the rules and laws of the United States of America. I'm not down with that part. However, just the idea of like these little rural communities where we all anyway, all right, that's just me. Okay, so that's what's going on in Tennessee. Now, there's another example of something similar happening in Solano County, California, and I urge everyone to check out More Perfect Unions reporting on this particular project. So, basically in Solano County, California, a private development group operating as Flannery Associates quietly bought up tens of thousands of acres of agricultural land in southeastern Solano County. The purchases were secretive and sparked alarm because much of the land sits near Travis Air Force Base, leading to inquiries from federal security offices and members of Congress about who was buying the land and why. In August of 2023, a group called California Forever, which was the operating arm of the Flannery Associates I just mentioned, unveiled an East Solano plan describing a walkable new city and proposed a county ballot initiative to convert agricultural land to urban use. Luckily, that ballot push was withdrawn. Local farmers, environmentalists, county officials, and a coalition called Solano Together have opposed the plan, citing water scarcity, ecological harm, traffic and infrastructure costs, lost farmland, and democratic concerns about a privately driven attempt to create a city. Company tactics have included litigation. Flannery sued some landowners over alleged price fixing, stealthy land buying through subsidiaries, community outreach, and after the ballot withdrawal, strategic pivots such as proposing a shipbuilding manufacturing park and exploring annexation deals with nearby cities. So how does this fit into the, I guess you could say, network state model? Well, it overlaps with network state ideas. California Forever resembles one practical route to creating new planned communities, or quote, new cities that could host alternative economies, governance experiments, or tech-centric ways of life. Objectives that echo some network state rhetoric about creating physical territory to match digital communities. The acquisition of large contiguous land parcels and the ambition to build a self-contained city and concrete moves toward assembling territory first, then political and economic systems. So, yeah, that is the current state of Solano County. Again, the More Perfect Union video does a great rundown on everything that happened with this. It's incredibly fucked up. So yeah, when I see that farmland data is being scrubbed on the government websites, I cannot help but think about the broader ideological movements happening within the Trump regime, or that's fueling the Trump regime, and that's the Christian nationalists, that's the broligarchy, and they all have one goal in common, and that is to dissolve the United States, get rid of democracy, and create their own little city-states run by CEO type figures. I guess for the Christian nationalists, it's going to be some kind of preacher. I don't fucking know. But what I do know is that this is wrong, and it's scary, and people need to know about it. John, that's all that I have for that.
Man, yeah, that's concerning, and it pisses me off because nobody's talking about it. Not in large enough capacities that it's mainstream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about all the implications, they're literally trying to do away with the U.S. as we've ever known it. For good, for bad, they're literally trying to make their own little nation states so that they can have full control. And fuck that.
Yeah, and in these little there's so many different names they go by. There's network state, there's freedom cities, which, on the note of freedom cities, Donald Trump released like some video back in 2023 where he talked about how he was going to use federal lands to establish freedom cities. He was going to open the frontier and unleash American innovation. Well, that video was totally inspired by this movement happening under the surface, which is moving towards a more libertarian fever dream of basically just dissolving the federal government entirely. I mean, I guess that's the first step, and then creating all these new like little city states, and they're all self-governing, and they're all privatized, and it's just, guys, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Damn.
But anyway.
All right, so focus back in for a moment on Arkansas farmers and acre investments. Key point, 64.2% of Arkansas farmers voted for Trump. 1 in 3 farms or more could be closed by spring of 2026. State's agricultural sector projected to lose $1.14 billion this season. Number has ballooned by another $300 million by the end of this month. That's as of the end of September 2025. Rice prices are at a 8-year low. Congress approved the budget reconciliation bill, or the big beautiful bill, earlier this year, providing relief to farmers. However, it won't cover the projected losses farmers will face this year, said Brandy Carroll, Director of Commodity Activities and Market Information for the Arkansas Farm Bureau. Carroll, a former rice farmer in Weiner, Arkansas, has decades of experience studying agricultural policies, impact on farmers. She said some One Big Beautiful Bill provisions won't take effect until late 2026, which is too late. That's literally a year after they're having their problems. All the challenges that Congress passed in budget reconciliation, they don't really do anything for another year. It takes the complete marketing year of every crop before they determine the actual market price of the crop and the reference price. Those payments aren't made for a full year until the end of the marketing year. That means October or November of 2026. Ryan Loy, an extension economist for the University of Arkansas System Divisions of Agriculture states. 259 farm bankruptcy filings from April of 2024 through March of 2025, and 2025 filings in the first quarter have outpaced those from first quarter 2024, even worse on a national level.
And
It's
these are
gonna,
just the tariffs alone, right? That
yeah,
like the impacts. Oh my, wow.
yep. And it's going to impact prices and availability of produce at grocery store.
Oh, on that note, can I just say, like, I don't know that we grow coffee here in the United States. I don't think we can climate wise, but I just want to say the coffee that I normally buy and I've bought my whole life, I was able to buy last year at about $12, $13 a pound. I am now paying 19 and some change for that same pound of coffee.
Holy shit.
Yes. Like I said, I think the reason for that is because those coffee beans are coming from, other countries. But I just want to give a great example of just how much these tariffs are impacting the things that we're importing.
Jesus. Have you seen any summaries as to the benefits of it? I mean, and again, I know I'm reaching here, but are there any real benefits that anyone could say, hey, here are the benefits from these? I know it seems like it's all pain, but here's the other side.
No, I mean, I will say that, like, when the conversation about tariffs first arose, going back to his first administration, I wasn't entirely angry about it because I think that when strategically used, they can be helpful, right? They can. And obviously they were, because Joe Biden continued a lot of the tariffs that were put in place by Trump. That's just a fact. I know people probably don't want to hear that, but that is fact. Go look it up. However, this tariffs on steroids thing we've got happening right now, no, I do not see the benefit. No, I do not see that they make sense in any way. In fact, I think I saw the other day that Trump is talking, not that I think he is ever going to do this, for real, about some kind of what do you call it? Basically kind of giving the money back in some way, he's going to write us all some checks because we've made so much money off the tariff. Basically I don't know if you would call it a stimulus check, but it's like a stimulus check, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so silly to me. And it's why would you do that? You could have just never tariffed the shit in the first place. You know what I mean? And it just, anyway. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
no.
seriously agree that I doubt he would ever do it, even if it's factual, even if that were true. I don't see them doing it. So let's move on to Acre Trader. So farmers partnering with Acre Trader, and just let me back up here. Acre Trader is an investment firm. They invest capital with farmers or for farmers. They're basically a loan entity. Is one of the many things they do. Venture capitalists can go in, give money to the group of Acre that's involved in Acre Trader. And then, of course, they expect a return, and they will run it like a Fortune 500 style business that is traded on Wall Street. And there's a lot of negative that comes with that. But farmers partnering with Acre Trader may face increased financial pressure due to rising land prices driven by corporate investment, making it harder for new or small scale farmers to access land. Additionally, reliance on corporate structures could lead to reduced autonomy of farmers and potential negative impacts on local economies as profits may not circulate within the community. Negative impacts of partnering with Acre Trader would also include increased land prices, operational risks, limited control. So just a quick overview of the long-term impacts for farmers partnering with Acre Trader. Corporate consolidation, dependency on external funding, impact on local economies, and environmental concerns. These factors highlight the complexities and potential drawbacks of partnerships with farmers and investment firms like Acre Trader.
So I ask again, is this intentional? Like it really seems between the tariffs and now you've got private equity or these investment firms coming in and basically, acting like freaking vultures because, the farm industry is hard. Like it's not exactly a moneymaker. And so it just seems all of that seems so exploitative. It seems so intentional. It seems like they are literally trying to make life as hard as possible for farmers, all so that the land can be bought up by private interests and potentially will become part of some network state down the line. That's how I see this. And
So I've got an idea in my head what it looks like to the consumer in the grocery store. But what do you think that looks like? What do you see the negative impact to the consumer across the country when they go to the grocery store and they're buying groceries the for all the farms, so let's say all the farms, let's say 75% of the farms have been bought up by two, maybe three large investment firms. What is the possible negative impact that you see to everyday people?
I mean, obviously the cost is going to skyrocket because that's just what monopolization does, right? And the fact of the matter is they can jack up those prices as high as they want. There's nothing that we can, as consumers, can really do about it unless we, take some sort of collective action.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, I guess that can look like a bunch of different ways, but yeah, I mean, honestly, what comes to mind when you ask me that is the movie 2073. Like, it's
Oh,
just another element of, a world where the elites have completely seized control of all the facets of life that allow us to survive at these very basic levels, food, land, um, housing. It's just, they're going to have their little special economic zones, which is another word for network state, and they're going to have their fancy little cities or whatever. And if you can't afford to live in them, well, then you're just living on the outside. You're living in a fucking dumpster or
yeah.
what used to be a mall, kind of like the main character of the movie. You're just scraping by. You're trying your best to just survive off the scraps that the elites throw out of their, fancy cities that they live in.
Yeah. Some of the puzzle pieces that I keep putting together in my head are that when you've got these large corporations that are running the entire farming industry in the country and eventually the world. And then those have so much influence as we saw in the last episode, and we'll see in this episode that they have with the court systems and which laws are passed. And they're not going to be laws that are going to benefit the American people. They're going to be laws that benefit these corporations. And I think about the ability to just do away with any regulations, whether it's regulations towards workers and safety, or whether it's regulations towards what's put on, what they're using as fertilizer or what they're using as insecticide, and doing away with all those regulations. And then that just ends up, on the consumer's plate. And your children are now eating produce that has been grown in these factory-based farms, factory-style farms where there's no regulation and there's no oversight on how they're getting the most money for these crops. And now, are you truly safe to eat that corn on the cob that you've got on your plate? Are you truly safe to eat the lettuce that you have in your salad or whatever the case may be?
Oh yeah, for sure.